What happens when a playoff game that should have been about skill, grit, and determination instead turns into a circus of controversy? That's exactly what happened in Game 3 between the Indiana Fever and the Las Vegas Aces. Fans tuned in expecting a classic matchup between two of the WNBA's most exciting teams. But what they got instead was something very different. Lexie Hull, one of the Fever's toughest and most underrated players, couldn't believe what she was seeing. Missed calls, phantom fouls, and moments so blatantly unfair that even the commentators were left shaking their heads. And when the final buzzer sounded, leaving the Fever on the wrong end of the scoreboard, the anger wasn't just coming from the players. It was coming from fans all across the country. Rigged. That was the word flooding social media. Thousands of posts, clips, and reactions pointing to the referees, accusing them of stealing the game right out of Indiana's hands. And Lexie Hull? She was furious. Her frustration was written all over her face as she defended her teammates and voiced what every Fever fan was thinking. This wasn't basketball. This was corruption. Tonight, we're breaking it all down. From the most controversial calls to Hull's fiery response, to the fan backlash that shook the WNBA. This is the full story of how referees allegedly rigged Game 3 between the Indiana Fever and the Las Vegas Aces. The stage was set. Game 3 was supposed to be a showcase. The Fever, led by Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, had fought their way into position against the defending champion Las Vegas Aces. Expectations were sky high. Both teams were hungry, both fan bases were fired up, and the WNBA itself promoted the game as must-see TV. But the beauty of sports lies in fairness. The idea that once the ball tips, everything is decided on the court. That's why what happened shocked everyone. Instead of letting the players decide the outcome, the referees became the main characters. Early whistles raise eyebrows. From the very first quarter, fans noticed something strange. The Fever couldn't play physical defense without getting whistled. Meanwhile, the Aces seemed to get away with far more contact on the other end. Lexie Hull, known for her tough perimeter defense, picked up early fouls on plays that barely looked like contact. On the flip side, when Caitlin Clark drove hard to the rim and absorbed body-to-body collisions, there was silence from the officials. Commentators hesitated to call it bias, but their tone said it all. The officiating wasn't consistent. Social media erupted with clips showing back-to-back possessions, a foul called against the Fever, then the same play ignored when the Aces did it. By halftime, the whispers had started. Was this incompetence? Or something worse? Lexie Hull's boiling point. For Lexie Hull, the tipping point came late in the second quarter. Guarding her matchup tightly, she was whistled for another foul, her third of the game. Hull threw her hands up in disbelief, staring directly at the referee. The replay showed clean defense, no arm contact, just a contested shot. Hull couldn't believe it. Fans couldn't either. Clips of her shaking her head and mouthing "unbelievable" went viral. By the third quarter, Hull's frustration spilled over. After yet another questionable whistle, she clapped her hands angrily, glaring at the officials. That fire, that raw emotion, was more than just frustration. It was the look of a competitor who felt the game was being stolen. Hull rarely shows that level of visible anger, which is why this moment resonated so strongly. If Lexie was furious, fans knew something wasn't right. Caitlin Clark caught in the crossfire. Of course, the biggest name on the floor, Caitlin Clark, wasn't immune to the officiating chaos. Every time Clark touched the ball, defenders swarmed her, often with contact that went uncalled. Clark took elbows, body checks, and hacks on her way to the basket, but the whistles stayed silent. When she showed frustration, gesturing to the refs for fairness, she was met with cold indifference. Fans noticed, broadcasters noticed, and Twitter exploded with montages of Clark getting hammered without protection from officials. For the Fever, this wasn't just about missed points. It was about rhythm, momentum, and morale. Every no-call chipped away at their confidence while boosting the Aces' swagger. Clark, usually composed, looked visibly shaken at times. But instead of folding, she kept pushing, making the lack of calls even more obvious. The phantom foul calls. If the missed calls weren't enough, the so-called phantom fouls pushed fans over the edge. At least twice in the second half, Aces players were awarded free throws on plays where replays clearly showed minimal or zero contact. One infamous clip showed Lexie Hull standing straight up with her arms high, yet the whistle blew anyway. The Aces marched to the free throw line again and again, widening the gap. The Fever, meanwhile, couldn't buy a whistle, no matter how aggressive they played. The free throw disparity by the end of the night was staggering, enough to make even neutral fans question the integrity of the game. This wasn't about one or two missed calls. It was about a pattern, a theme that left everyone wondering. Were the referees pushing for a specific outcome? Social media calls rigged. The moment the game ended, the word rigged trended across Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Fans clipped every questionable moment, compiling reels of missed calls, phantom fouls, and moments where referees seemed almost biased. The evidence, at least in the eyes of the fans, was overwhelming. Indiana Fever fans were the loudest, but even neutral observers admitted something felt off. Some analysts compared it to infamous NBA playoff games where referees were later accused of favoring certain teams. Lexie Hull's furious reactions became memes, GIFs, and rallying cries. Lexie said what we're all thinking. One fan tweeted, showing her mouthing, "That's a joke," after yet another bad whistle. By the next morning, highlight shows and talk panels were all covering the same story. The referees had stolen the spotlight, and not in a good way. Lexie Hull speaks out. After the game, reporters swarmed Lexie Hull, eager to hear her perspective. And while she chose her words carefully, her frustration was clear. "Look," Hull said, "we play hard, we play physical, but we just want it to be fair. That's all we're asking for. Tonight didn't feel fair." Those words carried weight. Hull didn't accuse anyone outright of rigging the game, but her tone, her body language, and her passion said it all. What comes next? So where does the WNBA go from here? Fans are calling for accountability, whether that means reviewing the referee's performance, adding transparency to officiating reports, or even replay reviews for certain fouls. The league can't afford to ignore this moment. As for the Fever, they're not backing down. Lexie Hull's fire, Clark's resilience, and Boston's leadership show this young team has a backbone of steel. This loss may have been painful, but it's also uniting them. And for fans, one thing is clear. The Fever are no longer just a rebuilding team. They're fighters, unafraid to call out injustice and demand fairness. Game May 3rd have been rigged in the eyes of fans, but in the long run, it might be remembered as the night the Fever truly found their voice. So there you have it. Game 3 between the Indiana Fever and the Las Vegas Aces wasn't just another playoff matchup. It was a battle tainted by whistles, frustration, and controversy that left players, fans, and analysts furious. Lexie Hull's anger, Caitlin Clark's resilience, and the Fever's unity in the face of questionable officiating gave us one of the most talked about moments of the WNBA season. And whether you believe it was incompetence or corruption, one thing's for sure. This game won't be forgotten anytime soon. But now it's your turn. Do you think the game was rigged? Were the referees simply inconsistent? Or was there something deeper at play? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't hold back. This is one debate that every basketball fan needs to weigh in on. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another viral WNBA story.